Mommy, please don't leave us. Please, Mommy.
I'm leaving you. Your father is too poor. I need a better life.
Please don't go, Mommy. We love you.
She abandoned her children and her husband for a rich man because her husband was struggling. Years later, she regretted it. Frank and Mercy were lovebirds during their university days. They met in a crowded lecture hall where broken chairs and noisy fans made learning difficult. Mercy had dropped her books one afternoon, and Frank was the only one who helped her pick them up. That small moment turned into conversations, and those conversations slowly became something neither of them could ignore. They studied together, laughed together, and survived the struggles of school side by side. On their graduation day, as others celebrated with friends and family, Frank took Mercy's hand under the setting sun. His voice shook, but his eyes were certain. "Mercy, will you marry me?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes," she said, smiling through tears. Years later, they built a home, not a perfect one, but one filled with warmth. Frank worked as an administrative officer at a private company. The salary was modest, not enough for luxury, but enough to keep food on the table and smiles on their children's faces. Their 2 children were full of life, always running around, laughing, clinging to their mother's wrapper. Mercy loved them deeply. She cared for them with patience, cooked their meals, and made sure their home remained a place of peace. Life was simple, but it was good. Until one evening, everything changed. Frank walked into the house quietly, his shoulders heavy, his face drained of life. Mercy noticed immediately. "Frank, what's wrong?" she asked, stepping closer. He hesitated, then finally spoke. "The company, it shut down." The words hung in the air like a storm cloud. Mercy froze for a second, but quickly pulled herself together. She held his hand tightly. "It's okay," she said softly. "We'll get through this." And at first, they tried. Days turned into weeks, the savings began to disappear, meals became smaller. Some nights, Mercy pretended she wasn't hungry so the children could eat. Bills piled up quietly in corners. Still, she stood by him. She encouraged him. She comforted him. She reminded him of who he was when doubt crept into his heart. And through it all, the children remained innocent, laughing, playing, unaware that hunger had already found its way into their home. At first, Mercy believed love would carry them through anything. She stood beside Frank, encouraging him as he searched for jobs day after day. Each morning, he left the house with hope, and each evening, he returned with disappointment written all over his face. Still, she smiled for him. Still, she said it would be okay. But hope began to fade as reality grew louder. The food in the kitchen became scarce. The children started asking questions she couldn't answer. Bills piled up, untouched, like silent reminders of their situation. It was during this time that her friend, Sandra, came back into her life. Sandra was everything Mercy was not: bold, flashy, and unapologetic about her love for money and comfort. She arrived one afternoon in a shining car, dressed in expensive clothes, her presence alone announcing a different kind of life. Mercy welcomed her warmly, but Sandra did not come with comfort. She came with questions. "How are you living like this?" she asked, looking around the modest home without hiding her disapproval. Mercy forced a smile. "We're managing." Sandra laughed softly. "Managing? Mercy, this is suffering." At first, Mercy ignored her. She defended her husband, defended her home. "Frank is trying," she said. "Things will change." But Sandra kept returning. Each visit, each conversation, planted something new in Mercy's mind. "You deserve better," she would say. "You didn't go to school to live like this. You are too beautiful to be wasting your life in struggle." One evening, Mercy finally broke. "I love Frank," she said quietly. "I can't abandon him now that he needs me." Sandra leaned closer, her voice calm but firm. "Love is not enough." Those words stayed. They echoed in Mercy's mind long after Sandra had left. Not long after, Sandra introduced her to Chief Johnson, a wealthy, powerful man known for his influence and extravagant lifestyle. The first time Mercy saw him, she was overwhelmed. His world was everything her current life was not. Comfort, luxury, ease, no struggle, no hunger, no waiting, just peace, or at least what looked like it. And slowly, without realizing it, Mercy began to compare. Her home, her husband, her life. The seed had been planted, and this time it began to grow. The decision did not come suddenly. It grew quietly inside Mercy until one morning she could no longer ignore it. Frank was seated outside, staring into nothing, lost in thoughts he could not escape. Mercy stood by the doorway, watching him. For a moment, doubt tried to hold her back, but Sandra's voice was louder. She stepped forward. "Frank, we need to talk." He looked up, tired but attentive. "What is it?" Mercy took a deep breath, her heart racing. "I can't keep living like this," she said. "I'm tired. I'm exhausted." Frank frowned slightly. "I know things are hard, but I'm trying." "Trying is not enough," she snapped, her voice breaking. "We've been trying, Frank, and nothing is changing." He stood up slowly, confused and hot. "So, what are you saying?" Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't stop. "I want more than this life. I deserve more than this struggle." Frank's voice softened, almost pleading. "Mercy, we've been through worse. We can fix this together." She shook her head. "No, I can't do this anymore." The silence that followed was heavy. "You're leaving?" he asked quietly. Mercy looked away. "Yes." Frank swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "And the children?" That question almost broke her, but she forced herself to stay cold. "They'll be fine." At that moment, the children ran out, sensing something was wrong. "Mommy, where are you going?" the younger one asked, holding her wrapper. She couldn't answer. The older child clung to her arm, tears already falling. "Mommy, please don't go, please." Frank stood there, helpless, watching everything fall apart. Mercy pulled her hand away slowly. "Take care of them," she said to Frank, her voice barely steady. Then she turned and walked away. Behind her, the sound of crying filled the air. "Mommy, don't leave us." But she did not stop. She did not look back. And just like that, a home built on love was broken. Days later, Mercy stepped into her new life. Expensive clothes, fine dining, soft beds, endless comfort. She laughed again. She smiled again. She shopped without thinking twice. For the first time in a long while, she felt free. And as far as she was concerned, she had made the right choice. After Mercy left, silence took over the house. The laughter was gone. The warmth she once brought with her had disappeared. What remained was a father and two children trying to understand a pain too heavy for words. Frank did not cry in front of them, but at night, when the house was quiet, he sat alone, holding his head, asking himself questions he could not answer. Where did he go wrong? What did he lose? Still, he had no time to remain broken. His children needed him, so he stood up. The days that followed were not easy. Frank faced rejection after rejection. Offices turned him away. Opportunities slipped through his fingers. Some people mocked him, others ignored him. But he kept going. He took small jobs, anything that could bring food to the table. He worked under harsh conditions, swallowed his pride, and endured the whispers of those who remembered who he used to be. Slowly, things began to change. One opportunity led to another. A connection opened a door. A risk he took finally paid off. Frank stepped into a business opportunity that grew faster than he expected. He worked tirelessly, putting everything he had into it. And for the first time since everything fell apart, he began to rise. Months turned into years. The small jobs became stable income. The stable income became success. And success brought him back to life. But money was not the only thing that changed his story. During one of the most difficult periods, a woman named Grace entered his life. She was calm, kind, and patient. She did not come with noise or pressure. She simply showed up with understanding, with respect, and with a quiet strength Frank had not felt in a long time. She did not try to replace anyone. Instead, she cared. She helped with the children, she listened to them, she comforted them in ways that slowly healed their hearts. And over time, the children began to smile again. They laughed with her, they trusted her, they felt safe. Frank saw it. And for the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel peace. Eventually, he made a decision. He married Grace, not out of desperation, but out of certainty. Together, they rebuilt what was once broken, a home filled with love, a family restored, and a life far greater than the one he had lost. For a long time, Mercy believed she had escaped suffering. Life with Chief Johnson gave her everything she once dreamed of: wealth, comfort, and a life where she never had to worry about the next meal. She lived in a grand house, wore expensive clothes, and moved among people who treated her with respect. Or at least, that was what it seemed. At first, the chief was attentive. He gave her gifts, took her to places she had never imagined, and made her feel like she had finally arrived. But as time passed, something began to change. His warmth faded, his smiles became rare, and his questions became sharper. "When will you give me a child?" he asked one evening, his tone no longer gentle. Mercy forced a smile. "It will happen. We just need time." But time was the one thing the chief was not willing to give. The pressure grew heavier with each passing month. Mercy visited hospitals, prayed, and did everything she could, but nothing changed. The same man who once treated her like a treasure began to look at her like a disappointment. Soon, whispers started reaching her. She overheard servants talking in hushed tones. She caught fragments of conversations she was never meant to hear. That was when the truth finally revealed itself. Mercy was not the first. Before her, there had been 2 other women, both brought into the chief's life, both given the same luxury, and both sent away for one reason: they could not give him a child. The ground beneath Mercy's feet shifted. "No," she whispered to herself, "he would have told me." But deep down, she knew the truth. She had never been chosen for love. She had been chosen for expectation. And now she had failed it. The change in the chief became final. One morning, without warning, her belongings were packed. "I can't continue like this," he said coldly. "I need a woman who can give me a future." Mercy fell to her knees, her voice shaking. "Please, don't do this." But his decision was already made. Just like that, it ended. The luxury vanished. The comfort disappeared, and Mercy found herself standing outside the same gate that once welcomed her, this time with nothing. No home, no family, no place to return to. And for the first time since she left, she remembered everything she had lost. For the first time in years, Mercy had nowhere to go. The world that once welcomed her now felt cold and unfamiliar. The friends who admired her lifestyle were nowhere to be found. The money, the comfort, the pride, it had all disappeared overnight. Desperation pushed her toward the only place she could think of: Sandra. She arrived at her friend's house, tired, worn, and nothing like the woman who once stepped out of luxury cars. When Sandra opened the door, her expression changed instantly. "Mercy, what happened to you?" Tears filled Mercy's eyes. "I need your help. I have nowhere else to go." Sandra hesitated, her gaze scanning Mercy from head to toe. "I can't help you," she said flatly. Mercy blinked in disbelief. "What do you mean? You're my friend." Sandra shook her head. "I warned you to choose a better life. I didn't tell you to come back here when things failed." The words hit harder than a slap. "Please," Mercy whispered, but Sandra stepped back and shut the door. Just like that, Mercy was alone. With nowhere left to turn, she made one final journey: home. Her heart pounded as she approached the house she once abandoned, but it was no longer the same. The building was bigger, more beautiful, filled with life in a way she had never seen before. She stood at the gate, frozen. Then she saw them, her children, laughing, happy, alive in a way that shocked her. And beside them stood a woman, Grace, calm, gentle, loving. The children ran to her, holding her, smiling up at her with pure affection. "Mom!" one of them called. Mercy's breath caught. "Mom? Not her?" She stepped forward slowly. "It's me. I'm your mother." The children turned, their joy fading into confusion, then distance. The older one spoke, his voice steady but cold. "Our mother left us." The younger one held on to Grace tightly, hiding behind her. Frank appeared, his presence firm, unshaken. Mercy's voice broke. "Please, I made a mistake. I want to come back." Frank looked at her, not with anger, but with finality. "That door closed the day you walked away. No shouting, no hatred, just truth. And it was enough." Mercy stood there, watching the life she once had, now belonging to someone else. Then slowly, she turned and walked away. This time, no one called her back.